occasion of International Women's Day, cricket goes to Ranchi with the India-Australia series pegged heavily in favour of the hosts. 2-0 up going into this game at the JSCS Stadium. India and Australia have different things to look forward to. Australia want to keep the series alive. India, you'd think, would have wanted to try out a few people, but maybe that'll happen if they secure the series. This is Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricinfo Matchday. In studio with me, Ajit Agarkar returns. So it's a nice, pleasant welcome back to Ajit. Good to have you, Ajit.
I was about to say you return. I've been here before.
Like India, we were trying out some options before the World Cup, just resting our sure shots for the World Cup and seeing who makes a claim for that. Brad Hodge enjoyed that opening and will also enjoy his chances at our Fab 4 today, given Ajit Agarkar's record is quite dubious on that, isn't it, Ajit?
Yeah, it's a nice outcome. I think I've lost the last few, so I need to strike some form like Aaron Finch. That'd be good.
Aaron Finch has actually lost his first toss. Now, does that even out maybe a little bit of fortune with the bat that hasn't gone with the coin? India will bowl first, with Virat Kohli saying that there are expectations of dew later on. So that's the call that he's made. So let's get straight into that. It's also an unchanged Indian team, so that's something that we need to talk about. Call from Virat Kohli to have a chase. You'd go with that?
Yeah, and clearly the dews played a part. I'm not sure otherwise. Either way, India looks far better than Australia. Just when it comes to big moments, pressure situations, they seem to be playing much better than Australia at the moment. So whether it'll make a difference, Australia will be hoping there's no dew. Could be a good toss to lose then, but at this point, with the way India's chased in that first game, no-brainer.
I would have liked a few changes. I don't know if you would go with that. This series is not as important as India giving a few guys a go. Shikhar Dhawan's not been in much form. There's probably a case to play him alongside KL Rahul and give Rohit Sharma a rest. MS Dhoni could very well be playing one last time in international cricket at Ranchi, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves. MS Dhoni could be playing forever. And that's the rest of the team. No place for Yuzvendra Chahal. And there's no return for Bhuvneshwar Kumar, who did the pre-match press conference. So I thought maybe that's an inkling that he could get a game and a rest for Bumrah, but that hasn't happened either.
Yeah, maybe want to sort of try and win the series here and then possibly have a lot more changes. You said Shikhar Dhawan, you'd rather play him to get some form back than, again, so leave him out just to try Rahul or give him an opportunity. Those top three are really important to India. We've seen it before. I mean, Virat Kohli looked a different batsman to everyone else who played on that pitch in the previous game. You want Rohit and Shikhar Dhawan in good form as well. So, no, I don't. In this game, it is okay. I don't think there was a lot to change for India. So, I don't have a problem with
But
them.
given that there are only 3 internationals left, Ajit, and if you are going to take Rishabh Pant or if you are going to take KL Rahul,
Yeah, I mean, Rishabh Pant
you're giving them just 2 games then.
Rishabh Pant is possibly the only guy I think if you're sort of having him, or you could at some stage play him as a pure batsman, needs a bit more of a run. But again, it comes down to that all-rounder slot. So you need somebody to bowl those overs, whether it's a Shankar or a Kedar Jadhav, that they can't leave out. Ambati Raidu probably would have been the only guy too, which would have been a little bit harsh on him. Okay.
Haji, just thoughts on India's team first before I move to Australia. Were you expecting some changes? 2-0 up in the series, last 3 international games before the World Cup. Would you have liked to see them try a few guys just from a pure team point of view looking at the World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, you would like to see them try a few, but there's no need. There's such a strong unit, and anyone that comes in seems to be able to just be another special piece in the jigsaw puzzle. So, look, I imagine that Virat's pretty confident on just moving forward and continue, to win games. And confidence going into that World Cup's also important. We talked last time about, well, what happens if you do drop someone and then KL Rahul comes in and gets 80 off 60 balls? Then, you've got that conundrum of selection, especially with Shikhar Dhawan, who's been dominant in all ICC World Tournaments. So I think he's just happy with the settled, balanced, lineup at the moment. Hardik Pandya is one that will probably come back into recognition, when he's fully fit and World Cup's up and about. But all in all, it looks a pretty balanced unit, actually.
All right, what about Australia? And right on the clock, we move to our next talking about Australia and how have they done in this game. They've got one change, no Nathan Coulter-Nile. Jai Richardson, who was very impressive in the ODIs back in Australia and played in the T20s too, comes in. Out goes Coulter-Nile, no other changes. Haji, thoughts on that one? Jai Richardson in?
Yeah, I would have thought they would have gone for Berendorf, actually, given the fact that he's a left armer and he's been consistently pretty good against India's top order every time he's played. So, yeah, a little bit surprising on that one. I don't mind. It's a bit of a like for like. Richardson and Coulter-Nile, they're both sort of bowl outswing and attack the stumps, and good aggressive players. But he's been impressive lately, Richardson. So yeah, it's a good in, but I think I would have lended towards Berendorf before Richardson.
Yeah, it's a similar point we made last game as well. The Indian openers wouldn't mind not seeing a tall left armour with the new ball for Australia, as good as Jai Richardson was.
Yeah, it's and they have had trouble every time the ball swung from a left armour, especially someone as tall as Berendorf. So, yeah, Jai Richardson bowled well against India in the one days. In Australia, different conditions there will be on offer here, but he's someone who's done well against India. So, yeah, it's one of those. Again, maybe Australia probably know what Berendorf can do. Although when you're 2 down in the series, you want to try and get some confidence back by some wins.
Yeah.
Both games, Australia were in great positions. I mean, second game definitely should have won, but even in the first game, 99 for 4 at that stage, India. It's just how comfortably India have then managed to win from there on. It's very disappointing. I think it's just the confidence. You just need a world-class performer in that lineup at the moment, whether that's a Smith or a Warner. Not just a world-class player, but a world-class performer. And at the moment, all the Australian teams that I've played against or have seen over the years, one thing you could always bet on was, they could create opportunities from a very difficult position. It's actually happening the other way around. Even in that chase in that previous game, you always felt that Australia were going to somehow mess it up. It's probably to do with the confidence in that team, and they need to turn it around quickly.
Yeah, only on the batsmen, given that they are batting first, but gives us a little time to just speak on Jai Richardson. There is uncertainty with Australia's squad because of the Smith and Warner situation, Augie. But on the other side, the fast bowling reserves look pretty good. Whatever we saw of Jai Richardson, got Virat Kohli 3 times in that series back home. If it is a toss-up between him and maybe Josh Hazlewood, or whether Mitchell Starc won't be fit, things look good, at least from the pace bowling prospects, don't they?
Yeah, and the pace bowling prospects are actually good outside of that group of individuals as well. The stocks all around Sheffield Shield cricket now are actually quite strong. So our bowling unit is actually really good. What I loved about Richardson coming in, it gave an opportunity. It showed those sort of top 3 guys that you can't rest on your laurels at any stage, because we've got some guys, waiting there. Stark, Hazelwood and Cummings sort of speak for themselves, but when you go Coulter, Nile, Richardson, Berendorf, and a few others back here in Australia, Rolly Meredith, got some good ball speed. It's good signs for Australia. He might have got the nod just because he has got Virat out on a number of occasions, and no one else seems to get him out. So it might be just a pot of luck and say, go on there, youngster, go and have a crack and see how you go.
Okay, we're going to save some time on that Shami Bhuvi chat because there's no Bhuvneshwar Kumar. So I'll just carry on one more point on the fast bowlers. And we saw Mitch Starc bowl well within himself in the Test series. We're not quite sure what we'll get to see of Mitchell Starc if he does make the World Cup. Jai Richardson has got something about him, nippy, quick, could easily keep even Josh Hazlewood out of the side if he does that.
Yeah, quite really enjoyed how he bowled. I mean, England, even though the pitches are flat, the conditions there might be some swing on offer. So then that makes him dangerous. Really enjoyed the responsibility that he showed in Australia. For someone so young, inexperienced, Australia still need an X factor in that attack. I mean, you saw that in that first game, even though the pitch had a little bit of sort of variable pace, and every now and then the ball kicked, they didn't have somebody to create something. I mean, everyone's bowling well at the moment, but that's what Mitchell Starc offers you, and hopefully they have him sooner.
Yeah, interesting choice of venue for Jai Richardson to play his first ODI in India. It's going to be at Ranchi, and if you have a look at some quick numbers of the JSCA Stadium, Sunil Gavaskar saying the pitch report that it looks good. You'll see some stroke play. India have actually chased and won 2 out of the 3 completed matches here. The average score batting first is 249, which is again a bit of a throwback. Again, Ranchi doesn't have a lot of ODI cricket behind it, so keep that in your calculations. 32 and 34 the average for pacers and spinners. So make what you want of it. It's been the 240, 250 sort of series so far. If we get another one of those, as long as it's close, it'll still be a good game. What about India's fast bowling reserves? We've spoken of Australia's, and Bhuvneshwar Kumar actually attended the pre-match press conference. He's back in the squad after being rested for the first 2 for Sid Kaul, who didn't feature in the games. And along with Mohammad Shami, we thought this could be a game that could decide perhaps who would partner Jasprit Bumrah, who would be the likelier partner before the other for Bumrah. In case India do play 3 seamers, you know who those 3 seamers will be, but good chance they play just 2. And since October 2018, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, good average, but it's been Mohammad Shami. If you just look at 2019 perhaps, just those 5-6 games after the Test series, you just think it's a different bowler. I'm curious to see whether this is an indication, Ajit, in some way, that even though Bhuvneshwar Kumar is back, presumably fit, that you're still saying, now we're going to go with Bumrah and Shami, because that seems to be the best pair we've got at the moment.
Yeah, for me as well. I mean, I said it in the first game that I did. If it is a choice between Bhuvneshwar Kumar and as good as Bhuvi has been with the new ball, I don't think he's bowling better than Shami at this point. Shami just with the new ball, middle of the innings, end of the innings, just the consistency, wicket-taking ability at different stages of the innings when he bowls.
I like that you said that. Let's go straight to that, because we've broken that up as to how these two fare in different phases of an ODI game. And one thing we've seen with Mohammad Shami is that he bowls a lot more with the new ball than perhaps at the end. That's something that we saw last game bowling at the death. This is the power play, Ajit. An average of 19 Mohammad Shami, 21 for Bhuvneshwar Kumar. Economy around 4. Not much to choose between that. So let's go to middle overs. That's you've got 6 wickets for Shami as against 2. Bhuvneshwar Kumar is not quite the option used in the middle. There's a difference in average there. And finally at the death, which is again something Bhuvneshwar Kumar has mastered, especially 2020 cricket, 6.97 at the economy against 8.7. So sometimes when we say Bhuvneshwar Kumar that good, his T20 death numbers are much better than his ODI numbers.
Yeah, I think that's where you get all mixed up, because you watch so much cricket or people play day in, day out, or there's so much IPL that you watch. It's T20 cricket where he's sort of changed as a bowler towards the end of the innings. He's done well in one-day cricket as well, and the economies have become higher with the change in rules. But it's just the way Shami is bowling at the moment. I mean, it's nothing wrong that Bhuvneshwar Kumar is doing. It's just Shami's performance has been so much better that I can't see how Bhuvi can at this point force him out of the 11 if you are picking your best 11. I'm sure over the next couple of games they'll want to play Bhuvneshwar Kumar, but Shami at the moment, I'd want, if I was captain, I'd play Shami through these 5 games and maybe give him a few games off during the IPL.
Yeah, sure.
Rest him there, because you want this sort of form to continue when someone's on top of that game, and if there are no real niggles that he's carrying, you may as well play him.
I mean, there's this other thing about Bhuvi being this great exponent of swing bowling, Oji, and England, and it could swing more in during the World Cup. But given everything that Mohammad Shami can also get the ball to move, probably a bit quicker too. Who would you rather face? I mean, who would you rather want to avoid? Would you rather have Mohammad Shami bowling with you, new ball, old ball? Would you rather have Bhuvneshwar Kumar?
Well, on those stats, I was surprised at how good Mohammad Shami's statistics stack up against Bhuvneshwar Kumar, because when you talk of Bhuvi, you just think of this outstanding performer, especially at the death. I guess the difference is that, in IPL cricket, you only bowl sort of 2 overs at the back end, whereas, one-day cricket, you're probably bowling, 4 to 5. So, that extra volume of balls gets an opportunity for batsmen to line up. But for me, I think Mohammad Shami surprised everyone, I think, with, his skill sets moving from England Test Series last year all the way through to Australian one-dayers, and continuing form on. He looks like he's just got control of the ball. Really looks like he's just steaming in for his captain and the type of guy that you want on your side. So, I think Mohammad Shami at the moment is one step ahead.
Yeah, he's got his tail up, Mohammad Shami, since that Test series in Australia. So Virat Kohli going with the fast bowler that seems to have momentum behind him. So no changes, like we said, for India. Let's move to our next talking point. Given Australia will be batting first, and this is something that I think we'd have a good amount of time talking with, especially with Haji. We are seeing a different sort of Australian batting display or approach. It's not often that you associate Australia with getting bogged down in the middle or just the runs drying up. But the percentage of dot balls, we're just having a look against the Indian spinners in ODIs in 2019. So there is a bit of a grip that Kuldeep Yadav in particular, Chahal when he has played, and Ravindra Jadeja too have managed to get. Now they've picked players, Haji, which are supposed to be their trump cards against spin. Peter Hanscom very good, Sean Marsh pretty good too. He's only had the one game. But are they guilty of just giving the Indian spinners too much respect? Would you like them to just have a bit of a crack and maybe put India spinners under pressure?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's not a surprising statistic given the fact that our record against all spinners around the world in the last, 5 to 6 years has been pretty average, apart from Smith and Warner. But I think a big factor in that is Finch. He's someone that can actually attack the spinners. So if he gets himself to 30 or 40 and then plays a spin, those other guys sort of ride off, his power. Same with Maxwell as well. When you've got to get in there and you've just lost a couple of wickets and you've got to grind and rebuild. That doesn't suit our team. But I think that for us, I think we're really vulnerable against the spinners, and we have to come up with a method which really rotates that strike. Probably try and find the boundary of fraction more often and put the pressure back on the bowler. Whenever you are batting, you've got to try and get yourself into a comfort zone and get your opposition out of a comfort zone. Right now, Indian spinners in particular are just dominating, just putting the ball where they want, chucking a few wrong-uns and turners in, and we seem to be dumbfounded. But we need to find a method. This is the best side we can get out there without Smith and Warner. They'll certainly help our side when they come back in, but we need to find the recipe.
Let's have a look at some more numbers now. Australia's batsmen against India's spinners, and this is ODIs in 2019. Now, Glenn Maxwell, you can figure, is at the top of that list in terms of strike rate, but he's also got that dot ball percentage, which someone like Maxwell, I guess, makes up. Point we're trying to make, perhaps, Ajit, whether they're giving India's spinners too much respect or is it a reflection of how well India's spinners have bowled. Now, Kuldeep Yadav is excellent, but Ravindra Jadeja has gone for 48 of his 10 overs in one game and 33 of his 10 in the next. There's no Chahal. Would you want to have a quick chat and say, why don't we take Jadeja on, put them under a bit of pressure?
Yeah, I think they are showing them a bit. I mean, Kuldeep Yadav, not a lot of them are reading. I mean,
Yes.
even though Finch, who plays spin well, got off to a start, with the time that he got out, he perhaps wasn't sure of which way it's turning. But they are showing them respect, but it's also got to do with the confidence in their own abilities. I mean, you don't. The first thought is not to get out, which is so un-Australian, really.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to score off, or like Haji said, trying to put pressure on the bowler and getting yourself as a batsman into a comfort zone where the bowler is always a little bit worried. Here, not enough's happening. I mean, as much as we know India is such a good team and India is playing well, I don't think India is playing as well as they can or to their potential in this series, in these couple of games. Australia is just not competing hard enough. I think their bowling's kept them in both the games, but their batting's let them down both times. So I'm sure it's a confidence thing.
Yeah.
If you get on a bit of a roll, start winning a few games, but you've got to find some way that you can counter that. You can't score as slowly as they have in those middle overs. India will always be in the game if that happens.
And
Doesn't matter what score.
Very quickly, Haji, just because they're batting first now, if you put Jadeja under a bit of pressure early, you go after Kedar Jadhav, even though he's been very good as the other spinner too, you give Virat Kohli a serious lot to think about because he knows he can't get 10 overs out of Vijay Shankar. He doesn't have Chahal. Would you want to tell the Aussie boys to just have a crack this time, make it a nothing to lose sort of situation, take on Jadhav and Jadeja?
Well, you need to take on someone. You know that Bumrah's going to go for the best part of 2.5 and over. He's just been outstanding. Shami's bowling well and Kuldeep as well. So as a batter, you've got to try and find a holes. If you're a left-hand batter, Sean Marsh or whatever, you have to try and take down Jadeja. You have to be aggressive. He's vulnerable against left-hand batters. So as a game plan, you have to do that. And similar to the right-arm orthodox of Jadhav, even though it's not the orthodox, you have to put a part-timer under pressure. You can't just let him dictate terms. That's what he wants. So, I'd like to see a fraction more aggressive, try and get it over that cow corner, take the fielder on, and if you get out, so be it.
Yeah, let's see if those chances are taken by Australia. Like Ajit says, un-Australian sometimes the way that we've seen them bat in this series. Takes one game to change all that. One game perhaps for Mahendra Singh Dhoni at Ranchi with a big question mark at the end. We're not saying anything for certain, but we know how far and few in between international cricket comes to Indian venues. We know that MS Dhoni is going to look at his career options too as time goes on and he's on the other side of 30. Bhuvneshwar Kumar was naturally asked the question by the media ahead of this game.
बहुत फायदा होगा क्योंकि आप जब पता है कि जब वो खेलते हैं तो टीम को कहीं से भी जिता देते हैं किसी भी सिचुएशन में तो बहुत ज़रूरी है उनका फॉर्म में होना है किसी भी बैट्समैन का फॉर्म में होना स्पेशली जब वो फॉर्म में होते हैं तो ऊपर के साथ तो खेलते ही जब नीचे का लोअर ऑर्डर आता है तो उन्हें पता है कि कैसे उनके साथ अप्रोच करना है कैसे सिचुएशन में बैटिंग करनी है उनके साथ कैसे उन्हें खिलाना है तो काफ़ी ज़रूरी है उनका एक्सपीरियंस उनका फॉर्म में होना वर्ल्ड कप हमारे
वो भी आज जैसे प्रैक्टिस में देखा गया ये महेंद्र सिंह धोनी की शायद वर्ल्ड कप से पहले कि आखिरी मैच अपने घरोली ग्राउंड में वो भी काफ़ी खुश मिजाज थे तो प्रैक्टिस के दौरान देखा गया था उनका जैसे स्टाइल है बैटिंग करने का नेक्स्ट वो भी देखा था ये आप लोग कैसे एंजॉय करते हो आप और ग्राउंड में उनका नाम पे स्टैंड भी बना हुआ तो ये सारी चीज़ धोनी को आप लोग कैसे एंजॉय करते हो उनके जो कलीग्स हैं
बट आपको कैसे पता कि उनका आखिरी मैच है यहाँ पे?
नहीं, मैंने बताया वर्ल्ड कप से पहले आखिरी मैच।
वर्ल्ड कप से, हाँ। तो दूसरी चीज़ की जब छक्के मारने का आपको पता है कि लंबे लंबे छक्के मारते हैं, वो तो कोशिश कर रहे थे कि अपने नाम की तरफ अगर मारे तो ज़्यादा अच्छा रहेगा।
Oh, that's good improvisation, and if the reporter intended it, that when Bhuvneshwar Kumar strikingly asking him why or how he knows this is his last game at Ranchi, he says his last game before the World Cup at Ranchi, but we can't help but speculate given that MS Dhoni is in that stage of his career. But like we said, no guarantees whatsoever. Good thing for India is ahead of the World Cup. He has indeed found some form, some self-belief. As much as this man is a legend in his own right, has little to prove to anybody. Fact still remains that he'd feel good about himself, knowing that he's still getting valuable contributions and helping India win games.
Look at those numbers. Average is what, 100. The strike rate, we've sort of seen now the strike rate is a little bit lower than what
but perhaps that is what to expect from Dhoni.
But that's the way he approaches his innings. I mean, there are guys around him who, Kedar Jadhav in that first game. But the one thing, I mean, anyone watching can clearly see he puts a price on his wicket where he thinks if he's there at the end, India will always have a chance. Of course, you need someone at the other end then to score a little bit quicker. Okay, you can't, I mean, got out I think first ball in the previous game. But I think the 3 games in Australia and the first game here clearly would have given. And doesn't matter how great a player you've been or how good you've been through your career, you still need runs or wickets behind you to just start feeling confident that it goes into bat usually towards the back end of the innings if the top 3 bat well. So there's always that little bit of pressure, extra pressure. So you'd rather be confident with runs behind you. Doesn't matter how great you are.
There's a lot being said about the utility of MS Dhoni in that World Cup, and perhaps if you just look at how he's approached innings, he might prefer chasing than batting first, given that he doesn't quite enjoy the power game early in his innings like he used to in his prime. But chasing, you could see that in the difference. 62 Cs at home. That strike rate of 71 is invariably because India's been chasing scores of less than 6 and over in the last 5-6 games. Perhaps that's something Australia might want to think about. If they can get to say a 280, 300, like they failed to in the first game, Haji, then if you manage to get the first 2 out or 3 out, then you've got yourself a chance with MS Dhoni to chase 7 and over. Lots of ifs and buts, but that's your best chance. There is still a vulnerability as good as MS Dhoni might have been this year. If you make him chase 7 and over, 6.5 and over for 15 overs or so, there is a chance.
Yeah, I think the thing with MSD is I think he actually knows precisely what he's doing. He's able to read the game well. So he knows that he doesn't have to press hard if he's only chasing 5 or 6s. If he has to go a fraction early. What the difference with MSD is in the last few years is he probably needs 10 or 15 balls now to get in where, in his high prime was probably only a couple of balls. But I looked up his statistics just recently, and for a guy that averages 50 in one-day international cricket is just remarkable over a long period. Look, I'd love to see him celebrate this one-day game at Ranchi. Get the Ducati out and actually ride the bike out in the middle and ask for centre on your Ducati. That's what I'd love to see tonight.
Players already made their way out. So let's quickly confirm the Fab 4 picks for Ajit Agarkar and Brad Hodge. Given how confident Hodge is of his chances today, I'll go to him first. Players already out there. Hodge, Mohammad Shami is swinging the ball nicely. All yours.
Look, I'm going to go for Rohit. I think I'll back him in for some runs today. I'll go for MSD. I think he'll turn it on at his home ground. And Sean Marsh. And I'll go for Jai Richardson as well.
All right, thank God you put in a bowler there. Let's see how it goes. Average score 240. Ajit Agarkar, are you putting more bowlers than Hodge?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Bumrah, Kuldeep, Virat Kohli. I've got to get an Australian batsman in somehow.
No, you don't need to.
Someone's got to get some runs sooner or later. He's got Sean Marsh, Glenn Maxwell.
There you go. I like it. I love it when you pick different players. It makes life easier and more interesting. Ajit Agarkar and Brad Hodge will be back at our halftime show. Match already underway. Download the ESPN Cricinfo mobile app to stay connected to it. And we, of course, will see how much Australia get in what is a must-win game in this series for them. Thanks for watching. Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricinfo Matchday.